Okay, so just a few comments on creation. Um, First of all, as I've described the creation through 6 days, the order of creation fits well with our modern scientific understanding of how a planet, in particular our planet Earth, with its abundance of life in both plant and animal kingdoms, would have been formed. So it starts with formlessness, and then um, gases and separation into creating an atmosphere with the sky above and the seas below, and then some earth that we can walk upon appearing between the seas. And then the creation of vegetation and so on, and then the appearance as the clouds part, and then the creation in day 5 of sea creatures and birds, and then finally in the final day all the other animals, including humans. Note that all the creatures that have ever been throughout history were created during these 6 days. No new species have appeared since then, although some species have become extinct, including the great lizards that we call dinosaurs, and sea monsters referred to in verse 21, which could also be classified as dinosaurs. And that fits in well with our scientific evidence and our experience that there are species that do become extinct, like the dodo, dinosaurs, and so on. But we don't have any scientific evidence for new species appearing in a stage in history. And then one question which is often debated is this actually 6 days? Is it 6 times 24 hours? So is this a 144-hour period in which God created everything on the earth? I believe there are 3 different alternatives and 3 different explanations for this. And the first explanation would be, okay, in day 1 we have a description of the earth being spun on its axis, forming a period of 24 hours for a day. So God did actually, in his omnipotent power, create at the speed that we see over these 6 days. So it was actually during a 144-hour period that God created everything here. And God, being who he is, he's omnipotent, so he is perfectly capable of creating at this particular speed. Just from the fact that he is perfectly capable of creating is pretty amazing in itself. And if we can believe that, then we can also believe that he would create within 144 hours. But another alternative might be that time happened at a different rate then compared with how it occurs now. So from our point of view today, as we study the geological evidence of what happened then, using our reference points, such as the rate of radioactive decay, it appears to have taken a lot longer. Okay, so if we measure it from using these reference points, it appears to have taken a lot longer, but maybe back then, if we were to take an atomic clock back in time to actually experience creation, then the time taken would have still been 144 hours as measured on the atomic clock. So radioactive decay would have occurred at a different rate. So our reference point then is not the same as our reference point now. So that's a second alternative. And then a third alternative would be that creation didn't actually take 144 hours as we could have measured it on an atomic clock back then. And God took a lot longer. But Genesis 1 is describing from God's is God describing what actually is taking place from his own experience. And for God, 1,000 years is like a day, And the reason for that is because God works outside of time, and as we are starting to discover through scientific investigation, that time is actually part of creation itself. It's actually a dimension. It's commonly known as the fourth dimension. And God is outside of that. So for God, 1,000 years is like a day. So when he states that it took him 6 days, it might mean that it actually took thousands of years. So that's the third possibility there. And I'll leave it for you to decide which of those alternatives you want to choose. And then finally, Genesis chapter 1 was not written as a scientific textbook containing all the evidence to explain how things were created. But neither was it written as a nice children's story or as a piece of entertaining fiction. It was actually written to help us understand who we are as a species, and to help us understand God himself and also our relationship to him. The author did intend to convey truth and was not just inventing scientific details, but it's all from the perspective of who we are as human beings and who God is. Thank you.